And it looks like we're recording everywhere. So, hey, buddy, welcome to another roundtable. This one, it's a coast to coast version. I am still in Las Vegas,
Woo!
maybe. I'm not gonna lie, I might or might not have an ice bag on my knee. We'll let that one live. But thank you guys for joining us, Adam and Josh. Man, we were talking before we started recording, and Josh, you put it into perspective. I've done a marathon over 3 days, and at 43 and some would say morbidly obese, I feel every inch of that marathon.
Oh yeah, I
So,
feel it for you, man.
oh man, it's one of those things where you get in there and you get going around and you look up and it's been an hour and you're just doing this the whole time. I mean, you're just looking at everything. And I texted you, I think it was yesterday, that I thought I'd seen it all, and then I realized, oh, there's an entire different hall of content that I hadn't even been
Jeez.
to, which was another half-mile walk to that hall. But we'll save that one for later. So yeah, NAB 2023. I still think that it really all the NAB events. There's NAB show in Vegas. There's one in New York in the fall. Um, I really do think they're a place that educators need to be. I think that um, I don't think new educators, and I'm working on an article on this and how to kind of expound on that. I don't think if you're in the classroom 3 to 5 years, I think that's about the time you should start looking at an NAB or something like that, because at that point you're still learning how to teach before that, but you're still hopefully still fresh enough on the industry that when you come back to NAB, you're not completely lost. This is my first NAB since 2019, and there's been a lot of changes in terms of the technology. Obviously, I mean, we had the pandemic, which totally changed everything. And some of these organizations that are doing literal point to point everything in an editing workflow in the cloud still just boggles my mind. And there's some other stuff that's coming down the pipe later that I I just can't process. I mean, they're the idea of some of these cloud-based technologies. Maybe I'm getting too old, but it definitely has been a good time, and there's just a ton of technology. I'm gonna hopefully today, if I don't fall asleep or take a nap, let's just call it take a nap. Crank out a couple of articles about some of the technology that I think that are essential in classrooms.
Yeah, man. Like it's been great because one, I've never had a connection out there, and I actually know several people out there this year, so that's kind of cool. But just you sending us like, oh wow, this is in Adobe, whatever. And we could talk about that in a minute, but like just the different technologies that are now available, like the software things that we can get our hands on, and just conversations that I'm having with my students, all based off of what is happening in at NAB right now, is just been really cool. I'm able to talk to them about like the Adobe stuff, the text editing and DaVinci Resolve. Like I did their well, not DaVinci Resolve, but the Blackmagic camera update. So now you can actually turn your camera like vertical and record
Yeah.
cinematic vertical video now.
What?
Yeah,
I don't know how I
like
feel about that.
I think you're gonna have to feel okay with it
Yeah,
because
it's coming.
it is. So it's just cool the conversations we're able to have, and I geek out over this stuff anyway. Like, just I told my wife, I was like, we went to B&H in New York a few years ago, and I said NAB is probably B&H of the future. Like, and I
Mhm.
want to go and just like see all of that. So I'm looking forward to hopefully get out there. And again, I agree with you about education, like needing to be there because uh, I mean, I've been out of the industry technically, since 2005. I've done a lot of stuff in between, obviously, but like I'm not day to day in it. So seeing the technology and what we will be able to do is inspiring. It's energizing, and I think it's something that is good for us to push to our kids.
It's interesting. My imposter syndrome really hit hard when I first got here on Monday, because I'm like, I'm a lowly engineer. You know, I still have the mindset of being a high school video teacher, which is always a tough introduction. But I'll be honest with you, every organization that I talked to, when I told them who I was with the University of Georgia, and then when I told them about Stream Semester, every one of them got excited about the potential, and about what high school and secondary or post-secondary education can do for the industry. And so that is something that, if you're a video teacher and you're considering coming out here, try to fight for it. But you got to get over that imposter syndrome. And it took me a while. I mean, I'll admit that, some of these organizations, I talked with an organization today that we were talking about a lens, and the lens was my car. I mean, it cost my
Yeah.
car. And I know that, high school programs, for the most part, from what I've learned outside of Texas, Texas, I think, can afford everything. Most programs can't afford that. So the imposter syndrome was real, but definitely it's a great place for educators to be, and to stay tapped in and to be aware of what's happening out there, because it changes obviously daily. And there are some things that I'm going to take back to the university and go, hey guys, we're missing the boat on this, we need to get a hold of it.
And I think
Uh,
what you just said about them getting excited, the vendors out there getting excited about high school and post secondary, I think that they should, because right now, if we can get our hands on some of this technology and we can start teaching these kids these things now, whether it's broadcast and live streaming or film with some of the equipment that they use, like they're going to go into those entry level positions like really well prepared. And I mean, like I couldn't have fathomed NDI when I was in high school. And now I talk to my kids about it and they're like, oh yeah, we do that. Like I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
like it's pretty cool. So hopefully we can get these kids ready to roll.
and that was something that in my conversation with Matt Pashaw from Ross and Bob Cornelia from Blackmagic, they both said, hey, look, we want to get these products in these kids' hands and let them learn, so that when they go to that next level, if it's for Ross, if it's to go to ESPN, to know those carbon switchers and to know those carbonite switchers and to know the expressions graphics software and that kind of stuff. And for Blackmagic Design, same thing, know the cameras, know the workflow. They find it very, very rewarding to communicate with those high school programs. And I got some names of some good programs that I'm going to reach out to and talk to on teaching to the test pattern, and share their stories and how they came to be. So really excited that we were, again, it was all imposter syndrome. I don't belong here. I'm just a lowly representative of the video or the education world, but that was not the case. And that was made me feel good about my messaging about teachers needing to be out there.
Hey,
You
so
talked
tell
about
me,
Adobe. Oh,
sorry.
go ahead, Adam. Go ahead, buddy.
So tell me how they're looking to connect with teachers or to connect to more to education in terms of price or.
Most of the large organizations that I spoke with have education pricing. And that ranges from just a straight off the top discount, 10%, 15%, whatever that is, to kind of added value discounts, meaning, if you spend $10,000, we'll give you an extra $2,000 in credits to buy something else,
Okay.
to buy a lens or to buy a software upgrade or something like that. The biggest area that they're really pushing, and this came from my conversation with Ross as well as with LiveView, is that they're working to create um, basically digestible education modules for students and educators to learn the products as they're using them or before they use them, so that they can really hit the ground running. I remember my first experience with Blackmagic Design. I had no idea about IP. And so when I got my first television studio, it took me a while to know, what the octets in an IP address are and what they mean and that kind of stuff. Well, now organizations are preempting that learning curve and putting the content out there, the education stuff out there before schools buy them and before educators buy them to help with that. And then they're obviously working a lot more diligently on training and customer support.
Okay.
Awesome. I don't know,
So,
TriCaster has the training stuff already.
yes.
So, and I know you've mentioned how to access that. That's definitely something worth like talking about again. But I think having modules for certifications or whatnot are good.
The New Tech U stuff is great. And if I'd known we were going to talk about it, I would have found the address to the email. As an educator, you can reach out to New Tech U. You can get all the modules, all the training for free on, I believe it's 5 different topics. It's the TriCaster, obviously. It's IP workflows, and then there's others, and I can't remember them off the top of my head. But you can get the modules for free and then a discount on the certification. I did the certification last year. It was great. It was, I watched all the modules. I felt that the test was represented by the modules and then my experience with the TriCaster. So, there's definitely, every organization that I met with this week, I met with their education rep. So that was a gift. And it's not, I'm not talking to the same guy who's trying to sell cameras and lenses to, MGM or something like that. I'm talking to a guy or girl who's knocking on doors at colleges and high schools around the country. So there's definitely a push for education in the industry.
Awesome.
It's good to hear.
So you mentioned Adobe, and I posted an article about it. Man, I'm not going to lie. I went to the Adobe booth probably 8 to 10 times over the last 3 days to just watch this thing. And there were a couple of things I was watching. The main was the text-based editing in Premiere, and then the secondary was the additions to After Effects. And I'll start with After Effects because it's the least complex and the least.
Said no one ever.
Well, no, it actually, so in After Effects in the past, if you wanted to change the scale or the position or something, you would have to go down to your timeline, twirl down, or use, your shortcut keys, any of that stuff. Well, now they've added the properties panel, which seems like something that would have been done a decade ago. So now you just click that element, the properties panel pops up, and you have all of that stuff. So your color, all of those things that, your position, your rotation, your opacity, your color, scale, all of those things that used to you have to twirl down or use PSTR and open those things up are now in the properties tab. So that was one of the quick things. And then I saw some different techniques on how to basically make essential graphics inside of After Effects, but not be essential graphics inside After Effects. So that was pretty cool too. And I made some notes on that I'll put in my recap on streamsemester.com. But the one that really got me was the script-based editing in Premiere Pro. So you go out, you shoot a couple of interviews, and you ingest that footage into Premiere. And then in the top right corner, there's a little thing that basically says transcribe. And it transcribes it by time, and you can tell it, I want it to transcribe by person. So let's say Josh and I are on camera. It's going to pick my voice out and Josh's voice. And then I can go in and go, that's Josh, that's Tom. And the rest of the script rolls out where it's Josh's voice, Tom's voice, and it tells you where it is. Well, if you want to just go through and read over that transcript and build your story, you never have to go into the editing tools for your rough cut. You literally go into that transcript, copy, you hit Command V and paste it into your timeline. Copy, Command V, paste it into your timeline, and that's it. And you can edit an entire rough cut and never touch anything in your timeline. Never touch your arrow tool, never touch your ripple, never touch anything. Literally dump it all in there. It made me so angry because I've spent years probably collectively either manually transcribing content or a process like Otter.ai, which I still use for our podcasts when I'm doing interviews. Put it in there, you find the time code, you find the, okay, well, that's at 2.5 minutes. Okay, go find the video, 2.5 minutes. All right, ins and outs. All of that's over with. You just literally copy, paste, and it's done. And that was probably the biggest group at Adobe continually when they were doing that demonstration, was people just going, wait a minute, time out. So all I have to do is ingest it, give it 90 seconds to transcribe it. It was really, really fast. And then copy and paste it. And by the way, Blackmagic Design and the latest 18.5 on Resolve, I found out yesterday, does the same thing now. Not quite as advanced, I would say, as the Adobe, but very close. But let's say in the Adobe side, it's a documentary about a football player and they have heart. And there's a clip that you remember when you interviewed them, and it's like, he's got all this heart. You can search for heart, and it will go find it and tell you where it is, and you can copy and paste that clip in. I was so pissed. I was so mad, man, because like I remembered several packages that I've done in the past 5 years. One in particular, we were when I was in Rockdale, we were interviewing Hank Aaron's son, who was a coach, and I remember scrubbing that footage because in the interview he talked about, we're like brothers, da 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 da, and I couldn't find that clip because I had the perfect B-roll. I had him and another coach just kind of ha 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 with each other like brothers, and I couldn't find that clip. And then as they were doing that demo, I was like, I could have just hit brothers, enter, and copied and pasted that in. So that was pretty exciting. The Adobe stuff continues to just amaze me. And it's just it makes me angry every time, because every time they update something, I go, all those years I spent, or hours or days spent doing. So yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah, that was one of the ones I told the kids about today, that they were like, what, really? They were like, I've been waiting on that. I'm like, yeah, I never even had fathomed that. So I'm glad you've been waiting.
It really did. But I mean, because I was thinking about my students who do packages now, and they're required to submit their script to the professor before they really edit. Well, now they can just go through in Adobe, instead of taking it through this other process in Adobe, copy their text, put it into their written script, and then come back and done. Like, and if it's multiple people, so let's say you have multiple clips, so you cut your VO or your stand up, you drop that in and ingest it the same way. You just click on it, boom, okay, there it is, boom, click, copy, paste, done. Like it's ridiculous. The other thing that that's kind of on the same level that blew my mind, and it was something that I was like, we're so stupid as educators, we're so dumb. Josh, you've been in Marietta how long?
This was 5 years.
So 4 years ago, your football team was pretty good. Do you remember when they played Parkview?
Sort of.
Do you have that footage?
Should somewhere.
How easy would it be for you to find it?
I mean, it would take a little digging inside the old Google Drive.
It would take a lot of digging inside the old Google Drive. So, MAM software, media asset management, servers. We get asked this question a lot about servers at schools, and I think that's a bus that we've missed as an entire industry. So, media access management, or MAM, is basically your localized Google search for footage. So, and for me, I was thinking, all of these students that I've had over the years and all these games that I've shot, and I've had all these packages produced, how great would it be to have this asset library? So let's say you had a player who was meh during that time, but has now gone to college, developed, and is now an NFL player, and you want to go and go, hey, look, this is what this kid could do. You would, using a media asset manager, be able to just go search player name, and all of your clips that you've put in and tagged with that player's name would show up. So you would go to you would go and search Parkview, and all of the clips that are labeled Parkview would show up. So that's something I'm working on, developing a kind of a workflow idea for teachers, because having a server is one thing. I mean, I've got 2 video servers, or not even video servers, they're just servers at UGA. But if I want to go back to 2013 and find a clip, I have to go through all those folders. So I talked with Melanie Chiatti at SNS Evo, and their stuff it's amazing. So imagine having this server that when your students finish a package, you have that weird time where the kids who are really good get done like 2 days early. Have those
Yeah.
kids upload that footage and tag their files with whatever the metadata, whatever you want to put. So if it's a package about coffee goes on all of them, the date, who did it, that kind of stuff. They upload it to that server, it lives there. And 5 years from now, when that student goes off to win an Emmy, you can go, hey, look, I remember when. Here's little Jimmy's clips.
Yeah.
And that's something that, I think that we're missing the boat on, because if you leave Marietta, what happens to all of your files on Google Drive?
Ah,
I mean, I literally got a text at 5 o'clock this morning. Hey, do you know where the lit dub video from 2018 is? The YouTube channel's been turned off. Well, no, it was on I had to use, yeah. So that will alleviate that. And I'm going to build out an article on why we've missed that boat. But media asset management is a big deal that we as an industry have really missed out on, I think, on a lot of areas.
But you mentioned though you have to tag everything though. You got to be very conscientious of tagging things.
So there is an AI piece to it that you can. It's going to cost money, but so let's say when your kid uploads it, there's some things that you can put in. That when they upload it would auto tag certain things, and then they can batch. So when they put it up, they can literally select them all coffee, select all, and go from there. So yeah, there needs to be some attention paid to it. But I think that you can build some. My understanding, and again, I'm still digging into it, is that you can build some safeguards to make sure the stuff gets tagged properly. So you go out and shoot something for Adam, in your case, somebody's shooting a small film about aliens. Well, whatever you can set it to where whenever they upload, the default is the small film, whatever, A-roll, B-roll, C-roll, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it'll dump all in there. The beautiful thing about it is, in a situation like what you guys have, is it's network based, but it doesn't go outside of your network.
okay.
So a kid can view the stuff outside of the building, but they can't really do anything with it. But they can mark it and go, hey, I need this and this and this, so that the next day. But the other beautiful thing is, so if you're teaching them how to edit, Josh, you put a folder up that's here's how to edit, and it's all the clips. All 16 or 18 of your computers there behind you can be working on the same project at the same time, and it has no impact. It's not going to change anything. And they're and a lot of these services are built into Premiere and DaVinci and Avid and all of these things. So literally in your Premiere, it would be a window, and you would just go, oh, how to edit folder, boom, drag the assets in and done. So really excited about that. I think that's an area that, again, we've missed as an industry.
Oh yeah, and it's so funny that you say that. I was messaging with our technology guy today, our networking guy, and I was like, "Look, I need you to come in, and we need to talk through some things." And one of them is NDI. Just I got some stuff I want to button up there, but then I was like, "Man, I need a server, like so that we can do this." And I was just reading about asset management, so I was like, I was thinking about all these things, and the fact that they've got that now that you're talking about, I'm like, man, that just makes so much sense. It's not just an archival tool, but it becomes a teaching tool if you've got those folders in there and you're like, hey, this is how we're going to learn how to edit a package. Everybody go into this and start working. So that's pretty awesome.
As I was talking with them yesterday, I literally told them, I said, it's going to take me 2-3 hours to process the potential on this, because for your show, let's say you're talking about something, and you don't want it to just be a reader, and you want some VO, but you don't really, right now you have to go shoot something. Well, what if last year the FFA's sale was you have the footage, FFA, boom, now it's in there. Okay, TriCaster user, it shows up as a folder in your TriCaster as well. So you can
Oh, it
literally
does?
import.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's a network. I mean, it really is. It's a network server. So it's got NDI. It's got a lot of stuff. I mean, it really has a lot of stuff that plays in. You can, for you, a lot of these different services, specifically SNS, Evo. Let's say you have a camera in your performing arts center that's just set to a wide of the stage for their presentation. You're not trying to do something big, and you can sit at your desk and hit record. It records straight to your server, and you're not
Wow.
having to run studio monitor. You're not having to waste space, waste a desktop to do that. So lots and lots of options there. But again, I talked to the SNS Evo folks yesterday, and yeah, it literally it set me back a good bit in terms of potential stuff, and that'll be a hard article to write just to keep it less than 15 pages.
So let's just go through the TriCaster aspect of
Okay.
that. So say you're using you've got Rundown Creator, you've got the TriCaster, and now in the middle you've got SNS Evo. Right. So you export your video from Premiere directly into SNS Evo. Your Evo is the JSON configuration file, whatever, with your TriCaster.
Yep.
So in Rundown Creator, you're just marking that. So it's loading your stuff directly for you. So your director is not having to go over there and download and put it into the TriCaster anymore. It's its own thing. It's the server that's already connected to the TriCaster.
Yep.
Which should make the TriCaster faster, because you're not like going to be like filling it up.
Yep.
So, man. And then that is one of those things that if you were just searching through the SNS to look for that B-roll, you just plug that clip into Rundown Creator again. And you're not having to put that clip into the TriCaster again, 3 years later. Man.
Yep.
Like the workflow aspect of all of that, it simplifies things. I feel like, and I didn't see the prices, but I feel like I don't know, like that can't be affordable.
It depends on where you go. They've got like a 2-bay system. They've got up to a 16-bay system. I think that to have a 2-bay system, and it's not going to be crazy expensive in terms of, and your sell here is not the workflow to your administration. That's not your sell.
Right.
Your sell is the archive. Your sell is, we've got all of this data coming in, all of these videos coming in. We've got to figure out how to make these kids live beyond the day they walk across the stage or the day my contract expires.
Right.
And I think that this is definitely a way to do that.
So this isn't, I mean, we're talking assets. We're not talking about just video. So is this something that Yearbook could use, and newspaper and all of those? Is it a way that we could all share resources, or?
In theory, yes. I didn't ask about JPEGs, but I can't see why that wouldn't work. I mean, at its root, it is just a Windows server. I did ask about Premiere Pro projects, Mogerts, those type things. He was like, yeah, here, boom, 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 done. And so, yeah, that might be a good angle that I hadn't thought about, was expanding upon that for those other things, especially as you start cross-pollinating your content with theirs, which, I think your books are going to be something that is multimedia in the future, in one way or the other.
So one issue I see with that, let's say Josh gets this asset management, the server, the school is then going to say, oh, cool, we'd like a retrospective of the entire year, and let's go back all the way to 1890, or I don't know, we don't have that footage, whatever. I could see that also creating more work for you.
I mean, I could see that. Well, now I wouldn't be surprised if they asked me to do that anyway. I would just have to find everything. Whereas with an asset management, or a what is it? Media asset management?
Media asset management.
Yeah. So with something like that, it's there.
So Adam, to address that,
you
upload the footage to the server, you select it all, you right click, you say send to AWS. and AWS, Adobe Web Services, has the AI tool that will watch
No.
it and tag it accordingly. Now, it costs. AWS is going to charge
True,
you for
yeah.
the amount of time, but yeah, it's possible.
Wow. So how close is already there that AI can just take footage now and just, when you kind of talked about this earlier, like you just
It's there.
upload something, tell it what you want to do, and if it's
Yeah, I
tagged,
mean, it's there.
it can do it.
It just costs money right now.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, it'll be built into a lot of products.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
your face right now looks just like mine did yesterday, having that conversation of that. Oh, okay.
Huh.
just talking about AI and the integration into the tools. Here in Marietta, we have Canva for education, so we get a lot of the pro benefits of that. And they've got AI so that they basically have I'm going to call it a watered down version of Chat GPT. It's definitely not as good as going to something like Chat GPT, but you can say, give me, 5 bullet points about such and such, and it'll generate like points inside of Canva, which is great. But they've also just recently released the Magic, Magic Editor tool or Magic Eraser tools. So you could go in, and I just did this playing around. I had just a Marietta High School graphic like logo, and I just took and like erased just a random few places of that, and it's like, what do you want to fill it in with? And I was like, a turtle pattern. Just typed it in there, and then a few seconds later, it's the Marietta High School, but it's got like sea turtles all around it, which it made no sense, but it was the fact that it makes as much sense as a Blue Devil.
But so yesterday I met with a group called Octopus. Alex from VisRT New Tech turned me on to them. He goes, "Hey, just go check them out. They're a newsroom control software. So they're like Rundown Creator. They're between Rundown Creator and ENPS from AP in terms of kind of what they offer. But one of the things that they did show is their Chat GPT integration, and it scared me and angered me at the same time, because he was like, "Hey, write me a 30-second script about this." I forget what it was. 30 seconds, boom, done. But it did have some other features that I was really excited about. One was the ability to fact check a script. Paste the script in, hit fact check. It gives you the percentage correct and sources and that kind of stuff. So AI is here, and it's going to stay, and we have to learn to embrace it and figure out how to teach our students to use it in a way that makes sense, and to understand the pros and cons of it. But that kind of scared me, that I could just see a kid going, "I need 30 seconds on this," and then it's just they're not doing anything except just putting out content.
We're using it.
Yeah,
we're using it in our show, and I was like, I'm okay with you using this as a starting point. And I wrote about it. It's in the article linked down below. I'm just kidding. I don't know if we even do that, but
you can do that.
We're using it not so much like for the initial script, because we're getting all of that information and everything. We're writing it. But then I'm like, okay, that's great. We did this yesterday, but the next day I want it to be a different script. They're not always doing that. And I'll find myself getting mad. I'm like, we've read this 3 days in a row. I was like, why are y'all not changing it? But I'm like, use Chat GPT just to rewrite this. It doesn't change anything. It just words it differently.
Yeah.
So it seems fresh. It seems new. And I mean, how many times in the news business did I take the same script and just add like one more fact and then put the words in a different place?
Yep.
And boom, I've got a new story. So
and it was
I think
advanced.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that it's using AI and specifically Chat GPT to help us in that way is not a bad thing. And teaching the kids how to use it responsibly is a good thing. Not to make them lazy, but to make them more productive.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I'm leaning over.
No, that's okay. When you get back, when you get back up, we are going to be celebrating right here. Guess where, look where we are. We're not at NAB. Yeah,
Well, I'm not
I'm
anymore.
not even there.
yeah. I was like, I was hoping you would have done this live from the convention center, but we're not there. This was actually, I don't know when this was, but I was like, that's crazy. It's huge, man.
That's what NAB looks like, man. It's they released the numbers yesterday. There were 1,200 vendors, something like that. Which you go, oh, but when you think about Blackmagic and Ross and the like, who each have 10,000 square feet of space,
God. Yeah,
just flat, and then they build all this stuff up. And I've made sure to take a ton of pictures so I can share. Um, it's so massive, and I hate that you guys aren't there. And hopefully this will be the last year you're not here, because as we talked about, Vegas, flying solo in Vegas is not as much fun as one would think. Magically when you go somewhere to eat and you go, hey, they go 30-minute wait. You go, what if it, and I asked the girl this morning, what if it was 3? She said there wouldn't be a wait. So,
wow.
Yeah, it kind of stinks.
All right. So we talked about this before we started recording. So I wanted to make sure I brought it back up. For NAB, National Association of Broadcasters, but it's not just broadcasters. So talk about what all people are going to see there when they get a chance to go.
You're going to see everything video production, from satellite trucks to cinematic rigs on top of a Volkswagen that are 17 feet off the top of it and zoom down and around, and AR and VR and AIR, and it's everything. It really, the National Association of Broadcasters, I think it's almost a misnomer, but they're 100 years in. This was the 100th NAB conference, the 100th year. I don't know if it was the 100th NAB conference, but 100 was the big deal. So I guess 100 years of broadcasting.
That had to have started with radio, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, 1927, Philo T4. Anyway.
Wow, check Josh out.
Yeah.
I don't need Chat GPT. I got Josh Dempsey. That's going to be a shirt.
That's
I'm going to wear that shirt next year to NAB. So literally, like Matthews, if you do anything in film production, Matthew, the name Matthews, they're there. All of the camera manufacturers are there. I was with Canon this morning and saw a lens that was $30,000 that would never be used in broadcast. It was a Cine lens that was 30 grand, and you're not going to put that in a studio. You might put $100,000 one on top of a stadium somewhere. They had those too. Blind manufacturers, lights, microphones, headphones. I watched a Foley artist yesterday at the Sennheiser booth for about an hour. Watched her recreate. It was super cool. So they had the video. She had a little monitor, and they had a video up on the wall. And she had a pile of dirt. She had her high heels. She had the wood box. She had the clip clops for the horses and that kind of stuff. And watched that for an hour. That was super cool. It's not the world I'm into, but definitely, something I respect. And Adam, I'm going to try to connect you with her at some point here soon. But literally, there were guys there selling film, like legitimate. Fujifilm was there. There were different film manufacturers. So it's not just broadcast. It's not just sports. It's not just news. It's not just films. It's not just TV shows. It's everything. The reason I reached over a minute ago was I went and I bought a new book because, I have a 4-hour flight tomorrow. Great bookstore, amazing bookstore. Like literally, I'm glad I had a budget when I came out here. Let's just say that, or I'd be in trouble at the house. It is for anything film. One of the biggest attractions that I saw that constantly had a line, it was kind of a fake motorcycle thing. And then they had a camera on a robotic boom. And then they were showing you not only the boom and the camera moves, but the AR with that. So, you get up there and it's got a fan blowing. So if you have hair, it moves your hair, and you're kind of doing this, and the final product is shown, and it's there. The AR, VR are the big two things,
Yeah.
along with media management this year, in my opinion. Green screens everywhere, LED back walls everywhere. That's the future. Is
Oh, that's
instead
there,
of
like kind of what they have in the Mandalorian, the
yes,
whole like
very much so,
the
very
space or
much
whatever.
so.
What?
Yep. The Ross booth had
I don't know if you can see this. This
I
is
can.
Sky Glass. It's an augmented a virtual production app. And it
Gotcha.
probably doesn't look all that great right there right now, but in front of a green screen, you can put yourself in front of pretty much anything on your phone.
Yeah. It honestly, it was so the AR VR stuff was so prevalent that it was almost boring, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
Because
it does.
like I was in the process of sending you guys a text this morning, when I was at the Canon booth. At these events, there are people who literally, like, their entire day, it's a man and woman on a set acting. I don't know what they're acting, but it's just so you can use the cameras and you have something to shoot at. I was going to tell you that's how you've made it, when you're the booth actor at
Oh yeah.
Canon, and you're just
Yeah.
the whole. I mean, there's no
Totally
audio. There's
do
nothing.
that. Yeah.
But
It's
then
made for
but then
Josh.
there was a guy who, literally all day long, he's sitting on a stool just playing guitar, and he's on a green screen. But the whole augmented reality thing, and it shows him like in the middle of the street in New York, and there's smoke and there's reflections and all that stuff. And so that's there. All of the things that, anything that you're seeing or think you're seeing in the industry, it's there. In the industry being anything that's captured. There were places that focused just on mobile capture. There were places that focused just on mobile audio. Tons and tons of radio stuff, obviously. Podcasting, lots and lots of stuff there. So it's not just sports and news at all. I mean, they're just not.
So Tom, I assume you're just trying to keep me in suspense, but tell us what the VHS market looks like there.
Oh man, the
Video
VHS
tapes.
market.
Yeah.
I think that was in the corner of the West Hall. I didn't make it all the way.
The desolate place.
Well, if I'd have said the South Hall, that would have been a desolate place. I think they're doing some renovations there,
Gotcha.
or they just wanted to show off the West Hall, because that's the only reason I could figure they would make you walk a half mile to go see some more stuff. But
Yeah.
dude, I have never craved a moving sidewalk before. This week, when you go through Hartsfield, you have those moving sidewalks.
Yep.
That's awesome. That would have been great this week, going from the Central Hall to the West Hall. But yeah, I mean, really anything video related, from chairs to lights to keyers to being, Blackmagic's set up. I literally walked through and I was like, I didn't know they had that, because it's so not in my world. And it really is. It's too much for one person to go and try to cover it all and report it all. So next year, guys, we need to tag team this thing.
That's the
But yeah,
plan.
it is definitely. I think what we need to do is just load up Josh's camper and stay at Circus, the three of us,
It'd be
and
awesome.
it's kind of in walking distance from there. Of course, I mean, it's Vegas, so everything's in walking distance. But it's definitely a good place for education. Definitely a good place for educators to be. I arranged to meet with some, but then some of my 30-minute meetings lasted 90, and some of my 30-minute meetings
Wow.
lasted 5.
Huh.
So unfortunately, the 90-minute meetings were on top of when I was trying to go meet other people. So
Yeah.
I had to bump some stuff.
Well, it sounds like it's
So
all the pageantry of an Alabama concert.
yes, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So what have you guys been doing on the grind all week?
Grinding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just finishing out, man. Like
So
this year's coming to a close, like more and more quickly.
So you guys are at the point now where you're just kind of walking in going, What do you need? Okay,
That's-
cool. I'm going to be over here.
That's literally what I did today.
Yeah.
And with one class, it worked out great. And then the other class, I was like, why do I teach? No, it wasn't that bad, but it didn't work out as well as I'd hoped with one class. But it is good when you get to this point where you're like, your last class, you're like, my previous class, let me say it that way. I was like, this is what you're doing. And I want you to view this project as the reason you got into this class. Like, I want this to be your passion project. I want you to have fun. I want you to work with people you want to work with. And I want you to show me what you've learned this year in this class. So, like, show me you know how to write a script. Show me you know how to shoot. Show me you know how to light. Show me you know how to edit. And like, in all of that, have fun, enjoy it. And I've got some classes that are like, yes,
Yeah.
this is what we've wanted to do. And I've got some classes that are like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? So
That's always the worst. When the kid's like, we want to do our own thing, and you're like, okay, cool, do it.
Yeah.
And they're like, but what do I do? It's like, you asked for this. I do.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in IB film, I do kind of like this project. Kids have to, I've talked about it before, I think, kids have to make a 10-minute video essay between two films that are separated in some ways in time and place. There has to be about a 25-year difference between them, 20-year difference, and or one of the films has to be set somewhere else. And with that, they have to research different topics, the context of the film, and they have to take these two 90-minute, 2-hour films and condense it down to a 10-minute video essay that's researched and written by them. So it's a pretty difficult task, but it's kind of cool to see what the kids do with it. Gotcha. That's kind of where we are in IB film, trying to jump on that.
Gotcha. We at the university filmed our last news source. I think it was a little job security for me because nothing worked. So, I mean, the graphics software lost its connections. So the lower third for every element was Ruby, because that was what I used. I just put Ruby in as the title when I was building the graphics. And so Ruby was our host. Ruby was our anchors. Ruby was the lower third slug for all of the stories. And in my head, I'm going, guys, see, there's a problem, fix it, or stop using the graphic. But it was good. And we still have a couple more sports source shows left to go in the semester. And then I have to take everything down. I have to strike the control room and our newsroom to prepare for a remodel, which is going to be quite the undertaking. We're literally going to take everything out of the control room because they're going to do some work on the doors, and I don't want anything. I don't want anything to be damaged intentionally or unintentionally.
Well, it'll be nice, like, you to put all your new NAB toys in there, right? Your whole new outfitted newsroom.
Oh, one thing we didn't talk about that you and I texted about, Flowix.
Yeah.
The graphic software, man. I literally sent an email to Faraz at Amitrace.com to go, hey man, either talk me into this or talk me out of it. I think I'm in love. HTML5 based graphics software that integrates with really any switcher, but super easy to use, super clean, sexy. It has OCR, which is optical camera recognition. There it goes, brain. So at a sporting event, you point your camera towards the clock and it recognizes your time. You tell it what the time codes are, and it runs your score, your time, all of that stuff automatically, and can be done. The hack that I came up with was remotely. Because our sporting events are going to be off campus, so we'll use our live view to kick it back and go from there. But yeah, Flowix is pretty cool. I'm really excited about that. I'm going to do some digging on that and push that out, because I think that for TriCaster users and Ross users primarily, it's a really big deal. Can really make a big change.
So I went ahead and signed up for the demo version of that today. I might have gotten an email about it already, but it did not come back immediately. So if anybody is interested in checking that out, you need to get in there and sign up and try to get in on that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure everybody in the industry is in Vegas this week.
Yeah.
You know, on the socials, there were a couple of things that I saw where people were like, "Hey, I've been calling this company and no one's answering." And I'm like, "Well, they're in C Hall." Yeah. So Flowix, I'm excited to get back and play with that and see what that is. Thanks to Alex from TriCaster for turning me on to that. That's the other thing, man. Just meeting some of these guys that, you know, when you watch these trainings, you know, Richard Evans from TriCaster, you know, you see him in person, you're like, oh, okay. I'm kind of a little star. Andrew Kramer. I saw Andrew Kramer. I didn't get to talk to him. Literally made eye contact. Hey, buddy, how are you? And then he blew me off. But if you've done anything with Video Copilot and After Effects, you know who Andrew Kramer is. I was a little starstruck by that one. But that's the other thing is some of those people that who have no idea the impact that they've had on your program are there, and you can talk to them and meet with them.
Oh yeah.
Hey, so how much demo or free stuff are you getting out there? Are people happy to send you stuff, or?
None, I didn't get a ton. I'm gonna definitely there's some, you know, I'm gonna talk with a couple of organizations about getting some stuff to demo to see. But the biggest thing that you can do there is obviously see it there. That's the primary thing is really you're sitting there with the experts. You know, with SNS yesterday, I sat there for an hour and just, hey, what about this? Oh yeah, we can do that, you know, and that kind of stuff. And you know, really dig in that way. So that's kind of how they do it. You know, there are a couple of places that'll send demos, but the biggest is to just sit there with those experts. It's like Alex yesterday. Richard the day before had talked about Flowix, and I have a relationship with Alex from years ago at Camp TNI, and so I went and saw him. And I was like, hey, dude, show me Flowix. And he pulled it up, and I was just like, oh, okay, you know, something in a web browser that allows you to do all these crazy graphics is pretty wild.
How's that going to compete, or how does that work with, not with, but in tandem, I guess, with something like Titler Live? Like, is it going to replace something like that, or?
It would be a replacement, most likely, depending on, you know, if you have the perpetual license on Titler Live, definitely find other applications. If it's something to where you're in the field, for you, Josh, your stadium's a while away, and if you want to do a central control room situation, well, like, never mind, not in your situation, but if you're in the field, you can still send it back, that kind of stuff. Same thing with Flowix. So it may be an addition to, but I think that from what I saw of the workspace and the templates and the designer, a little more user friendly, a little less buggy almost. But again, I didn't dig in as much as I have with Titler Live, and I've used Titler Live 5, 6, 7 years, like, probably longer than that now. But I liked the Flowix. I liked the look and the ease and the fact that it's from Viz, who that's what they do is obviously create those things that work in tandem with the Viz RT softwares and the TriCaster stuff.
Yeah. Well, good stuff, man. I'm excited about the future here. Like,
super exciting, man.
It's just,
I don't know if I'm ready for it.
Well, we don't have a choice.
Nope.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have some. I'm leaving at. I'm catching a flight at 5:30 in the morning. Coming back tomorrow.
Okay.
So 2 a.m. wake up call. It's all good, man. I'm listen. I love being out here. I love NAB. I love all that stuff. But I'm ready to get back home, see my wife and kids, and sleep in my bed. You know, the time change, and I feel like an old man with this. I mean, for you guys, you're like, all right, my day's over with. I'm like, it's 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I did think about that.
And my body, you know, I wake up at 4 o'clock normally. My body every morning has been like, hey, 1 o'clock in the morning, let's roll.
Yep, let's do it.
So, you know, but it's allowed me to do some stuff in here that I couldn't do at the house. I wouldn't get up at the house at 1 o'clock in the morning and start writing. So, but yeah, I've got a lot of content coming out over the next several days. Probably the next week, I'm going to try to put some stuff out. I've got one queued up from Ross. My conversation with Matt Pashaw is up there now on teaching to the test pattern. And I've got an article about Ross. I've got SNS Evo. I've got Octopus. I've got Canon. I've got Blackmagic Design. My conversation with Bob Cornelia, and your love, Josh, for the camera was definitely conveyed and appreciated and reciprocated there from Grace and the crew there. So,
Very good.
yeah. So I'm excited to get back home and start doing some things, getting ready towards the summer. Got Camp TNI not far away. And then the week after TNI, I'm doing the camp at UGA for high school students for broadcast news. So I got to start drilling down on what we're going to do with that since I won't have a control room or newsroom.
Oh, yeah.
Did you say what you were going to be like? What lessons or workshops you're going to be doing at TNI?
I'm going to do one on failing to succeed in terms of pushing rigor and kind of figuring out what came first, the chicken or the egg, in terms of failure or success, and kind of get into stacking your plan for the year and knowing that you're going to have failures and successes. So that's what I'm doing at TNI. Plus whatever else Adam asks me to do. And if you're a Georgia teacher and haven't signed up for TNI, go do it. And if it's full, reach out to Adam Logan and tell him, hey, I want to go, and see if we can open up some more spaces.
All right, this Adam is going to be presenting at TNI.
In addition to being the keynote speaker.
Oh yeah,
yeah. They reached out to me. Is that what the hell?
What are you presenting?
I think we're doing writing, some screenwriting, script writing.
So you were, and then we were going to do something together, which we haven't figured out yet. And then I was going to do a couple, and I don't have those figured out yet. So I probably need to sit down. And I know Adam did say something about doing a like a town hall discussion with me and him and probably a couple of people. So I think that'll be fun.
Excellent. I'm going to bring the Zoom, so I'll probably record some interviews and stuff too.
Yeah, nice.
Do some.
So is everybody loving your hats there, Tom?
Dude, the hat comments have been great.
Yeah.
Monday it was Chattanooga Lookouts. I got 7 comments. I was like, Adam wants to know how many people, so I kept track. I got 7. Hey, are you from Chattanooga? Or hey, what's that hat? Yesterday was the Flying Shonkless, and surprisingly, only about 2. Like I figured a flying flip flop would be good, and I got 1 today. A guy, actually, one of the crossing guards, is from McIntosh County. He's from down in Darien, where Camp TNI near. He's like, "Hey man, is that a Rome Braves hat?" It's like, "Yep." So I was only there for about an hour today. So yeah, it was a good week in hats. So
yeah.
So I went home last week and I watched the Trash Pandas. The Rocket City Trash Pandas, their game that they lost, the no hit. Sorry, they lost their no hitter, 7-5.
Yes,
and I didn't realize it, but do you know what a trash panda is?
Oh, you don't? It's a raccoon.
Raccoon.
Oh, well, I should have known that from your hat. Like,
was there a raccoon on it? I didn't notice though.
Yeah,
I thought there was, but
I was like, oh yeah, raccoons going trash.
Yeah,
trash pandas.
Always remember the Great Outdoors. The 2 raccoons are going through the trash.
Yeah,
and they're eating hot dogs. Like, what do you think made of? They're like lips and assholes.
Yes, that's true. There's a Nathan's downstairs. I might hit that up for
Oh man, that's good stuff.
Or dirt dogs is across the way too. May hit that. Who knows?
Man, exciting possibilities tonight.
Yeah, boys. Well, I think we've you got something?
Yeah, you did too. I saw that we got a text message from David Limbaugh. I was like, are we live streaming this? Because it was like right after we were talking about Da Vinci. He pops in and he's like, make the switch to Da Vinci. And I was like, what is going on? So anyway,
the message was, come on, Josh, make the switch to Resolve. In my conversation with those guys yesterday, I did tell them that Resolve has come a long way in terms of what it does and what it offers, and the price point can't be beat. It's impossible. It's free to download as many copies as you want, and that I did tell them that I'm seeing it more and more in educational uses as well as professional uses. every day it seems like there's somebody else I talk to that goes, "Hey, I'm using Resolve." I'm like, "Oh, well, okay." So it's definitely something there, and David Limbach has always been an advocate for those guys. So yeah, and I got
I have used it a couple of times recently, and I think I was spurred on by a couple of things. One, I love watching Peter McKinnon's videos on YouTube, and they recently switched to doing Resolve. And I was like, all right, come on, Pete. But then when I got the Blackmagic camera, I was like, I can do so much more with Blackmagic Raw if I'm editing with their software. And the fact that it was free, there was no harm in downloading it. And I have found it to be, if you can edit, you can edit. And the stabilization inside of it was so much easier to do than Premiere even. And obviously everybody loves it for color correction. So I think there's a lot of advantages to it.
Yeah, definitely. It has become more user friendly in the last 5 years. I remember when they first came out and it was node based editing primarily. It was a little more difficult to understand, especially coming from that linear, non-linear look of Adobe or iMovie or any of those things. But that was that's definitely as Blackmagic continues to grow in the world with that Blackmagic Raw and then their other stuff. I mean, their new ATEM, the HD8 ISO allows you to record your program feed plus all of your inputs straight to a card that exports as a DaVinci project essentially, so that you can go back later and do all of the stuff in DaVinci. You don't want to take your footage. You don't want to go from DaVinci, cut it up, move it, take it to Premiere or whatever. You're just going to learn DaVinci, and that's a pretty smart play there by Blackmagic as they continue to weave into the DNA of video production, because there really are, in my conversations today, I talked to several camera manufacturers today, and I was telling them about needing a studio camera, and every one of them talked about the Blackmagic Design Studio 6K. And it blew my mind because I'm like, you guys sell cameras, and one of them goes, yeah, we sell cameras, but we sell lenses too. I was like, okay. So they're like, if we can't get you on the camera, maybe we can get you on the lens. So they're doing a very good job with that. But yeah, David has always been an advocate of DaVinci and has done some really good stuff with it, and taught about it at Camp TNI in the past. And maybe Logan has his hooks on him for that again this year.
Good stuff, man.
Cool. Well, it's been great. I'm going to put out some
coast to
content,
coast, nationwide.
I'm telling you, we are on both coasts, at least in terms of time zone. But I am ready to get back to Georgia, where the tea is sweet and cold. Dude, nothing here is cold. Nothing. Like last night, I went to Wahlburgers. I got a root beer. It was cold. Like, can I get some ice or something? Like, nothing is cold. Like even
I
my
got a
room.
snow cone while I was out there, and it was just Kool-Aid.
Yeah, nothing. Like the first thing I do when I come to a hotel room is bottom out the AC. It's not 68 degrees in this room. You're not convincing me of that.
Wow.
But actually, the weather out here has been really good. It's been very windy, but it's been very mild. Like I want to say highs in the 70s. So it's been really nice. But leaving on a jet plane first thing in the morning, headed back home where the tea is sweet and cold, and my wife and kids are there. So
Good stuff.
pretty excited about that. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you. And for those of you who have listened or watched and endured this long, thank you so much for doing that. Go visit our sponsors, Amitrace.com, and tell them how much you love us and tell them how much you love them, and they'll love you back. So have a great day and go make some awesome.